Hey everyone, my name is Michael Rhodes, and I'm starting this Indiegogo campaign because I have an idea for a game that is based on wilderness survival that doesn't include zombies, doesn't include mutants, all the things that other games have nowadays. Um, and it's also going to be based on realistic survival techniques, and I'm really excited about this, and I want to talk a little bit about it with you. So, hopefully, I can get you excited about it and help me out get this game produced, get it supported, and eventually get it on Steam so that I can share this with you and everyone else. So, what is Off the Grid? Off the Grid is basically a wilderness survival game, first and foremost. There's a lot of things out there in games that are just overlooked, and either it's because developers don't think it'll be enjoyable, they think everyone wants zombies and PvP. I'm not sure. Personally, I'm not a huge fan of that kind of gameplay. I want a game that is not focused on PvP, it's not focused on some enemy that's not realistic. I want a game where I can just go out and survive off the land, off the grid. So I'm going to design this game with that in mind. I am going to be doing a lot of research into real environments, what kind of resources are available in those environments, what you can do with those resources, and how you can basically maintain life in those environments. There's a few things I want to do with this game. I want to make it first off enjoyable. I want to make it so you can play single player or with a group of friends or strangers, whatever. Um, Now, I don't want to make this a game where it becomes a big PvP fest. I think what I'm going to do now, unless I get feedback from the community, that suggests that you guys want something else. What I'm going to do is make it so that you're limited to group play of up to say 4 or 5 players in a group. The reason for that is because if you are in a survival situation and you're on some server with like 200 people, that's not survival anymore. That's just living. It's just there you are. The challenge is basically eliminated. So I think limiting it to small groups is going to be better because everyone can kind of have their role. People can be trapping, some people can be gathering resources, some people can be building shelter and other things that are in the other structures. So yeah, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to limit it to kind of a group play or single player. There's going to be 2 different game modes to keep you having a good time. One mode is going to be a rescue mode, and this is going to be more of a quick gameplay mode where you're in a situation and your goal is to eventually get rescued and to be taken out of that environment. You want to be saved. So you're going to be in a situation and you're going to have to initially survive, but then you're going to have to put up some kind of signals. Smoke screen, SOS signal on a beach, for example, whatever environment you're in, you're going to need to signal overhead airplane or boats out in the water, whatever. That's going to be that mode. Um, and you can see more details on the webpage later on or on this Indiegogo campaign. The other game mode is going to be a survival mode. This mode is going to be a more long-term game where you set out to live off the grid. You set out to stay in the environment. So here you're going to be not bothering with signals to get rescued. You're just going to survive. You're going to set traps for animals and critters. You're going to build your shelter, build structures around your little home. You're going to have to protect yourself from wildlife. I mean, there's no mutants and zombies, but there are bears, wolves, coyotes, other things that you got to be careful of. Different environments will have snakes and scorpions and poisonous spiders. So there are these issues. It's not going to be all perfect. Um, so that's that. The other thing about Off the Grid that I want to talk about is um, I'm a big fan of role playing games, and I don't want to kind of make too much role playing. Like I don't want to really mix in questing and that. That's not going to be it. But over time, you will get better at what you're doing. You will get stronger, or your knowledge will go up as far as trapping animals, So I want to have some kind of progression system where you can get better at these things. You can put points into trapping, or you can learn more crafting recipes, things like that. You can make better objects, or make your environment better. Um, Growing things, like say you start getting seeds for tomato plants, or I got to figure out how to work all that stuff in. But that's where the community is going to be involved. I'm gonna be taking a lot of feedback from you guys as well on this. I'm going to be very transparent in how this game is developed, and basically, I want to make a game that you guys are going to enjoy. So I'm not going to be ignoring any feedback. So I want to make sure you know that. But I want to have it so that you can progress your character. Now that system has to be more designed. I'm only in the early stages, but I just want to let you know that that is my plan as well. The other thing I plan on doing is having a unique journal system in this game. I think if you're in a survival situation, maybe you want to record what you're doing. So I plan to have a journal, and I'm in the current stages right now of designing this, but I have most of it planned out or figured out in my head and documented so far. I'm going to make a journal system where you can actually write your own journal entries and record what you're doing. Now, some people, you may not want to do this, and that's fine, but the real role players or real survivalists who want to, if you want to really document how you're doing, that option is going to be there for you. I'm going to make it so you can actually type in like a little journal entry and basically keep track of your progression. The journal system is going to also include game info, like survival skills. Like as you learn things, they're going to be documented in here, and this is going to be automatic. It's going to be more of a reference for you to come back to, and you can, basically if you learn a crafting thing, you learn how to make something, you learn how to make fire out of, sticks, or, flint and steel, or whatever it may be. You learn how to make a shelter that doesn't get blown down in the wind. Well, sturdier shelters, these things can be recorded in this survival skills section. The other section is going to be basically what I call Gridpedia, and that name can be definitely changed down the road. I don't know about that, but basically this is going to be a lot of knowledge. This is going to be like an encyclopedia of wilderness survival, and what I'm going to put in here is this is going to be real survival information. I don't want to make anything up. I'm using a couple different resources as a guide of real survival skills that are taught to people in courses and by survival guides. So that is my plan for the journal system. So why am I making Off the Grid? Like, why am I doing this when there's plenty of survival games out there already that have crafting, they have hunting, they have all these things? Well, the reason is where I'm a big fan of this kind of game, and one of the big things that disappoints me is they're all kind of, well, a lot of what I played is all the same. It's all basically, you get your recipes for crafting things, you can hunt animals by just basic things, but none of these games really go into the level of detail where they're realistic. What I want is a game where you feel like you're really doing something, and that's what I want to do with Off the Grid. I want to make it feel like you build a shelter and you feel like you have accomplished something, because now you've got a place that you can stay dry, you can stay warm, that you can actually even almost learn from. I'm going to be trying to put a lot of educational aspects into this game, but not to the point where it's really tedious, but I want to make it so that you as you're building a shelter, you can learn different types of shelters, different designs that block out wind, that will be best for blocking out water, and these will all depend on the environment you're in. So that is why I want to make this game, because I want to make something that's more realistic, and that really isn't like any other game that I know of out there. I'm sure there are other games out there like this, but I do want to focus on that. I want to make it so that, if you do something in this game, if you're ever out in the wilderness and you ever get lost, if you've done it in this game, That's not going to substitute real life training, but I want it to be along the same lines so that you might remember something and it might help you out. But fun and having replay value is the most important for me, and realism is important as well. But I want to make the game first and foremost fun that you guys are gonna love playing, that I'm gonna love playing, and at the same time keep it more realistic and avoid the zombies, avoid the skeletons, all these other things that are put into games typically to add that level of fun and challenge. I don't feel a real survival game needs to have that, and I aim to prove that by making a survival game that is realistic, fun, and challenging, and something that you guys are going to enjoy playing. One of the things that's very important to me for Off the Grid is to create a accurate but enjoyable survival experience for the players. And to do that, there's a thin line between education and gaming, and what I want to do is try to bring the experience as close as possible to both of those spots. So I want a nice, fun gaming experience, but at the same time, I'm looking to have accurate information and something that at the end of the day you might learn a little bit about something you didn't know. So with that said, the environments that this game is going to have is going to be modeled after real life environments. So starting off, I'm going to focus on the Canadian forest, and specifically the boreal forest. And for those who don't know, Canada has about 30% of the world's boreal zone actually is within Canada. So it's a very large part of the Canadian wilderness, and where I am Canadian, and I definitely enjoy the outdoors. This type of forest is very interesting to me. There are many species of animals. There is plenty to do. There's a lot of resources in a boreal forest that can sustain life. And that said, I think it is a very good starting environment to get my feet wet with creating environments and to get something for you guys to play. So I would love to have some feedback on our forums and to get some ideas from you guys who are interested. What do you guys think about the fact that I want to link education but at the same time make it a game? So I want to make it, you're playing a game, but I don't want you feeling like you're watching some, after school special on Learning Channel. So yeah, so that said, first environment will be the boreal forest, Canadian forest. And there are several different spots in Canada where there are different types of these forests, and I plan on modeling at least 2 or 3 in the end, having different environments to choose from. So hopefully that's something that's interesting to you as well, and I'd like to hear some feedback on what you think. With Off the Grid, I aim to provide a unique gameplay experience that's not found in other survival games. One of the main focuses I have in Off the Grid is to eliminate the whole player versus player problem that arises in these kind of survival games, where I don't want all the players to eventually become, I'm more powerful than you, let's just dominate the whole world and kill everybody. I want this game to be focused on teamwork and working together basically to survive in a situation where you don't have the resources you typically are used to. So if you're lost in the woods, for example, in the forest, you can't do everything yourself. You can't build a shelter. You can't hunt for food, take care of all your traps. You can't do all these things. So as a team, well, you can do all those things, but as a team, it makes it just that much easier. And also, working as a team is going to present some obstacles as well, because there is the hunger and thirst and the basic needs I'm going to put in here in the game as well. Now, I don't want to make it very tedious, but they're going to be there. So That is one thing I want to say about the uniqueness of this game is it's going to be based on teamwork and realism and not working against each other but working with each other.